What's up, everybody? Nick Dwyer back for the 10th inning here with another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw Tony Hawk become the first ever skateboarder to perform a 900, that's 2.5 flips. We don't have anything quite like that today. We don't have anything from Tony Hawk, but we have a plethora of Tour de France's to get into. We have the first no-hitter, even though it's not officially credited by the MLB as one. And we have some perfect games to talk about today. So if y'all enjoy this video, leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. This Day in Sports History. We start out today in 1875, and Joe Borden would throw the first no-hitter, even though it's not official in MLB's books. George Bradley actually has the official record. But Joe Borden did accomplish this 1 year before George Bradley in the team's 4-0 victory over Chicago. Again, I don't really have stats from that time, so again, this will be one you just have to take my word on, but just take my word on it. We stick with baseball, but move up to 1890. Giants pitcher Mickey Welsh would join Pud Galvin and Tim Keefe in becoming baseball's third pitcher to record his 300th career victory in a 4-2 win over Pittsburgh. Welsh would go on and only win 7 more games in his 13-year career. We move into the 20th century now, start in 1912 at the Tour de France. Odile Defray would get his only Tour victory. 1 year later in 1913, we go to the 12th edition of the Davis Cup, and USA would defeat the British Isles 3-2 to claim their third of 32 overall victories in the Davis Cup. 15 years later, in 1928, we go to the opening ceremony of the 9th Summer Olympic Games in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Then 1 year after that, in 1929, at the 24th edition of the Davis Cup, France would defeat the USA in Paris 3-2 to win their third of 6 straight Davis Cup victories and their third of 10 overall. Also in 29, at the 23rd edition of the Tour de France, Maurice Deswalles would get his only Tour victory. We move up 6 years, but we stay with the Tour at the 29th edition, and Romain Mize would claim his only Tour victory as well. 21 years later, at the 43rd edition of the Tour in 1956, Roger Waterwheel would win this Tour, and this would be his only Tour victory as well. 20 years after that, in 1976, we have another no-hitter to talk about. This time the White Sox would defeat the Athletics in a 2-1 victory when you had John Blue Moon Odom and Francisco Barrios combined to get that no-hitter in a 2-1 victory. Blue Moon Odom on the day, 5 innings pitched, 3 strikeouts, 9 walks on the day. You can see why he only threw 5 innings. But then Barrios got the save, 4 innings pitched, 2 walks allowed, 2 strikeouts, and the White Sox defeated the Athletics 2-1. We move up 6 years to 1984, and the 23rd Modern Olympic Games would open up in Los Angeles. 1 year after that, in 1985, at the Canadian Open on the women's side, Pat Bradley, with a score of 10 under, would win 1 stroke ahead of Jane Geddes to win her third of 6 overall majors. Also in 1985, this time in the MLB, at the MLB Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Lou Brock, Hoyt Wilhelm would be inducted by the BBWAA, and Enos Slaughter and Archie Vaughn would get inducted by the Veterans Committee, making it a 4-man crew heading into Cooperstown in 1985. 2 years later in 1987, at the US Open on the women's side, Laura Davies, with a score of 3 under, would win her first of 4 major titles after an 18-hole playoff over runners-up Ayako Okamoto and Joanne Carner. We stay in 87, and Angel Cordero Jr. would become the 4th jockey at the time to win 6,000 career races. Currently, he sits 7th all-time in career victories, with over 7,000. Back to Major League Baseball in 1989, and the Atlanta Braves' Dale Murphy would hit 2 3-run home runs in an inning, becoming the 4th man to hit 2 home runs in an inning, and tying the then record of 6 RBIs in 1 inning. Now it's up to 8. We move up 2 years and we have a lot to talk about. We start at the U.S. Senior Open in 1991. Jack Nicklaus, with a score of 2 over, would match the course record in a playoff round 65 to defeat Chichi Rodriguez by 4 strokes in the playoff to win his first of 2 U.S. Senior Opens. Then at the Tour de France, Miguel Indurain would win his first of 5 consecutive Tour victories. Then we move to the Fed Cup in women's tennis, which Spain would win their first title with a 2-1 victory over the United States. Conchita Martinez and Arantxa Sanchez Vicario would clinch the final in a 3-6, 6-1, 6-1 victory against Gigi Fernandez and Zina Garrison Jackson. This would be Spain's first of 5 Fed Cup victories. Finally in 91, in Major League Baseball, Dennis Martinez would throw the 13th perfect game in baseball history, the 11th in modern day baseball. On the day, 9 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts in the victory en route to the perfect game. We stick with baseball in 1993, and Seattle Mariners' Ken Griffey Jr. would homer in his 8th straight game to tie a Major League record held by Dale Long, 1956, and Don Mattingly, 1987. Also in 1993, in Major League Baseball, we've talked about Anthony Young now for a little bit, his record that nobody wants. Well, after a shaky 1-inning relief performance in which he gave up the go-ahead run, Young's record-setting 27-game losing streak would come to an abrupt end when the Mets would score twice in the 9th for a 5-4 walk-off victory over Florida. This infamous streak covered a span of 81 appearances over 2 seasons and included 14 losses as a starter, 13 as a reliever. There's actually a funny quote from Young after the victory, and it was, "That wasn't even a big monkey that was on my back. It was a zoo. The guys treated it like I had won a World Series game for them." I mean, hey, everyone's gonna feel good when you break a streak like that. No one wants to see a man have a streak like that. And it was finally broken in 93. We move up 1 year, stay in Major League Baseball though, 1994, Texas Rangers pitcher Kenny Rogers would throw the only perfect game in franchise history and the 14th overall in a 4-0 victory over the California Angels. Rogers on the day, 9 innings pitched and 8 strikeouts, no errors by the team either, got that perfect game. 2 years later, we move to the Atlanta Olympics, and Americans Karch Kiraly and Kent Steffes would win the inaugural beach volleyball gold medal match at the Atlanta Olympics on the men's side. And Kiraly would become the first person to win gold in both the indoor and beach events for volleyball. We stay in 1996, this time at the British Senior Open, and defending champion Brian Barnes, with a score of 11 under, would win 3 strokes ahead of runners-up Bob Charles and David Oakley to claim his second victory. We move up now to 2002 in Major League Baseball at the MLB Hall of Fame ceremony. The Wizard, the great Ozzie Smith, would be the only player inducted in 2002, voted in by the BBWAA. We stay in 2002 and we go once again back to the tour, the 89th edition, and Lance Armstrong once again would end up winning. This would be his 4th of 7 straight victories, but as we all know now, it doesn't count. 10 years later in 2012, we move up to the London Olympics and we go to the women's 400-meter individual medley, and Ye Shiwan of China would set the world record with a time of 4 minutes and 28.43 seconds to take the gold in the Olympics and set the record. 1 year later, we move to 2013 and we go back to the MLB Hall of Fame inductions. After being elected by the Pre-Integration Veterans Committee in December, the induction of Jacob Rupert, Deacon White, and Hanko Day would mark only the second time at the Hall of Fame ceremony where it did not include a living selection. The last time there weren't any inductees alive to be honored occurred in 1968. We end today off in 2019 with 3 separate events. First, in women's golf at the Evian Championship, Jin Young Ko, with a score of 15 under, would win her second major title of the season and second overall, 2 strokes ahead of runners-up Shan Feng, Jennifer Kupcho, and Hyo-Joo Kim. Then at the Tour de France, Egan Bernal would become the first ever Colombian and Latin American winner, and this would be his only tour victory. Finally, at the British Senior Open, Bernard Langer, with a score of 6 under, would win his 4th Senior Open, 2 strokes ahead of runner-up Paul Broadhurst. So there you have it. That's what happened on this day in sports history. If I left anything out, let me know down in the comment section. If I mispronounced any names, I do apologize. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Hope everybody out there having a great day. Peace.